Okay, well, get our hands on the book, an illegal book, no less. Although I think I've got a good idea, if you haven't guessed already, of a bookseller in particular that would be able to supply us with the tome in question. Though while we're here, I wouldn't mind asking you about just some other stuff, I suppose. You seem quite knowledgeable on the subject. Not every day I get to talk to a temple person. So yeah. Tell me about the Tribunal itself. Like loving ancestors, the Tribunal guards and counsels us. Like stern parents, they punish our sins and errors. Like generous relatives, they share the bounty among the greatest and least according to their needs. Among the greatest and least according to their... Hang on a minute. Where have I heard that before? Anyway, the Tribunal are all commies. Anyway, let's see. What can you tell me about them individually? Or you've got more to say on the Tribunal, apparently. Almalexia, Vivek, and Sothasil, the mortal guardians who walked the earth, defeated the Dunmer's greatest enemies, and the Nords and the Dwarves, and achieved divine... oh, God. Achieved divine substance through superhuman discipline and virtue, and through supernatural wisdom and insight. Alright, well. So they ascended to godhood through just being nice guys, apparently. Sounds kind of fishy, but then again, who am I to question it? So what about the individual chaps themselves, like Vivek, for example? At once brave and honourable, and cunning and devious, Lord Vivek is a rare combination of the virtues of flamboyant adventurer and prudent statesman. Interesting. What else do you have to say about him? Vivek was the most gallant knight and the most subtle rogue of the First Council. I see. And what else? What about Sothasil, for example? Lord Sothasil the Magus is one of the three immortal god kings of Morrowind, a pillar of the Tribunal and the patron of artificers and wizards. Sothasil was the mightiest wizard and most wise counsellor of the First Council. Companion and teacher of Nerevar and Vivek, Sothasil is the light of knowledge and the inspiration of craft and sorcery. Okay, alright then, well. What else can you say? He was the mightiest wizard in the... Right, you already said that, yeah. You mentioned the Nords, actually. These people are our ancient enemies. Like all man races, they are of inferior blood, but otherwise are human in every respect. Are they capable of enlightenment? Do they have souls? Who can say? Wonderful. Wonderful racism. Anyway. Almalexia. Blessed Almalexia the Warden is one of the three immortal god kings of Morrowind, a pillar of the Tribunal, and the patron of healers and teachers. I see. So those are the three gods, Vivek, Sothasil, and Almalexia. The three generals that once served Nerevar. What about Dagothur, for example? Dagothur is the evil immortal enemy of the Tribunal Temple cult. Really. The temple holds Dagothur and his hosts accountable for all the evils that beset the Dunmer and Morrowind. Scapegoat much. Dagoth dwells in fiery caverns beneath Red Mountain, served by his kin called ash vampires and by legions of deformed monsters. Right, that much I already know from speaking to some Ashlanders about the subject. You mentioned you were being watched by ordinators. Is that anything to worry about? I do not care for temple politics, but I have read The Progress of Truth, and it troubles me. I have friends, former priests, who have gone into hiding, so I am bound to come to the attention of the ordinators. I'm careful, but I'm afraid. I'm no secret agent like you or Caius. Sooner or later, I too must go into hiding, if it's not too late. When you return to Caius, tell him that I'm worried, and if something goes wrong, I will leave a message under the agreed code word, Amaya. Okay, right, that was probably quite important. Right, well, I suppose we better get going before someone gets suspicious, so, right, thanks for the info. I'll be on my way, and I'll go and find this book, I suppose. I won't bother trying to steal it from here, not with these guys lurking around. So we need to get back to the foreign quarter and get back to Joshabar, who I am almost certain has a copy of the book in question. He has most rarish sort of books in this game in his shop, so if an NPC ever asks you in a quest to find me this or that book, always go to Joshabar's first. It's the easiest way to do it. Sun's starting to set. Early evening. And there is the Palace of Vivek itself, where the man-god of Vardenfell resides. During who knows what, in fact. He has a canton all to himself, apparently. Well, you know. He is a god and everything, I suppose. Anyway, let's be on our way. Interesting, though. We've learned a bit more about... a little more depth on the Nerevarine cult, and also that this new faction, the Distant Priests, who are a splinter of the temple, who believe that the Nerevarine cult shouldn't be persecuted at all. So yes, all food for thought, and the plot does indeed continue to thicken, so let's fast travel our way over to the foreign quarter. Somehow. Right, yeah, map. That's what we want, isn't it? The map. Duh. Right, we have 2 foreign quarter tabs for some reason on here. I don't know why that is, but anyway, I think that's the one we want. Okay. Also, while we're on the... well, I was going to say while we're on the loading stream, but it's done now, surprisingly quickly. I just want to address one point. The videos, you may have noticed, are a bit darker probably than before, and the reason for that is I've not changed the brightness settings on here at all. But what has happened is I've started using a different video conversion / rendering software. I think AVS Video Converter it's called. And it's so much faster and more efficient at making YouTube videos ready to upload than Movie Maker is. But the downside is that for some reason it darkens the videos. I have no idea why. And it darkens them to the extent that it goes back to sort of almost default levels of brightness on here. I don't know why that is. I still have the brightness settings on here the same. So, you know, you're going to have to just stick with it, I'm afraid. There's nothing else I can really do. I don't want to go back to using Movie Maker because it takes much longer to do and it's a lot more frustrating. For example, you will notice on the newer videos I put out, each one is exactly 15 minutes long to the last second. This is the wrong building. They're all 15 minutes long, and the reason for that is I've been using the new software, so it does make it much quicker for me. It all does itself automatically in the background instead of me having to manually do it like I did with Movie Maker. And quite frankly, I don't want to go back to using Movie Maker. So you're just going to have to put up with it, I guess. If it gets too dark in some areas, just let me know in the comments section. I'll always make a point of, you know, I don't know, picking up torches or... hang on a minute. Right, okay, we're back. Damn frame rate was screwing around again. I think it does that every time it saves a portion of the video, but it only does it in Morroblivion for some reason. It doesn't do it with other games, but anyway. Yeah, if it gets too dark or something, let me know in the comments, and I'll endeavour to cast a light spell or pick up a torch or something, so it's not quite so dark or whatever. But anyway, no, we don't want to speak to Julio. We need to speak to Joshua. Right, tell me, do you have a copy of the Progress of Truth? I'm going to keep my voice down so the Ordinator upstairs doesn't hear us. But hopefully you do have it. No, that's not it. Pilgrim's Path. We want the Progress of Truth. Aha, there. Quite expensive, actually. 252 gold, but gotta have it. Perhaps Caius will reimburse us for the effort. But anyway, I'd read it now, but I don't want to sort of get caught reading the damn thing in the bookshop with this chap standing around. So. What we'll do now is I'm just going to check. Let's see, what's the time? It's 8:59 PM, so it's probably time we were making tracks towards finding somewhere to rest. And thankfully, I think the Black Shark Corner Club, well, if the patron will still let us after having murdered 3 guys in his own bar, should be able to let us have a bed here. So, okay, still there, aren't they? Look, it's terrible. So yes, I'm Raul Geral. You rent beds? Yes, please. I would like a bed. Thank you. Now I'm gonna hunker down in the corner over here and grab something to eat. Have some beer. Have those grapes, some hound meat, and some some rice, I guess, and an egg. Why not? Spoil ourselves. Quite a large lunch. Dinner, even. And what we're also going to do is we're going to have a little leaf through the progress of truth. Again, if you don't want to see me read this out, it's kind of important, so I'm going to. Skip ahead. Feel free. Anyway. Let's start. This might take a while, it's quite long. But I'll try and soldier on with it anyway. Even though I'm quite tired now, it's very late in the evening I'm recording this. After a long day. Right, yes, okay. Let's see. Progress of Truth, compiled by the Dissident Priests. Excerpt. Concerning the points of temple doctrine challenged by the Dissident Priests. So this is kind of almost like a manifesto by the Dissident Priests for their little group. Number 1. The divinity of the Tribunal. Temple doctrine claims their apotheosis was miraculously achieved through questing, virtue, and knowledge, testing and battling with evil. Temple doctrine claims their divine powers and immortality are ultimately conferred as a communal judgment by the Dunmer ancestors, including, among others, the good Daedra, the prophet Veloth, and Saint Nerevar. Dissident priests ask whether Dagoth Ur's powers and the Tribunal's powers might ultimately derive from the same source, Red Mountain. Sources in the Apocrypha suggest that the Tribunal relied on profanely enchanted tools to achieve godhead. That's not a typo, by the way. Godhead's like a thing, an actual term or something. And that those unholy devices were the ones originally created by the ungodly Dwemer sorcerer Kagranak to create the false construct Numidium. 2. The purity of the Tribunal. The dissident priests say that the temple has always maintained a public face, represented by the hierographer, the priestly writings, quote-unquote, and a hidden face, represented by the apocrypha, the hidden writings. The public account portrays the actions of the Tribunal in a heroic light, while the hidden writings reveal secrets, untruths, inconsistencies, conflicting accounts, and varying interpretations which hint at darker and less heroic motives and actions of the tribunes. In particular, conflicting accounts of the battle at Red Mountain raise questions about the Tribunal's conduct and about the source of their subsequent apotheosis. Also, there is good evidence that the Tribunal have been concealing the true nature of the threat posed by Dagoth Ur at Red Mountain, misleading the people about the Tribunal's ability to protect Morrowind from Dagoth Ur, and concealing a recent dramatic diminishing of the Tribunal's magical powers. 3. Temple accounts of the Battle of Red Mountain. Ashlander tradition does not place the Tribunal at Red Mountain, and holds that the Dwemer destroyed themselves rather than that Nerevar destroyed them. Ashlander tradition further holds that Nerevar left Dagoth Ur guarding the profane secrets of Red Mountain, while Nerevar went to confer with the Grand Council, i.e. the Tribunal. That Nerevar died at the conference not of his wounds, according to the Ashlanders, but from treachery, and that subsequently the Tribunal confronted a defiant Dagoth Ur within Red Mountain, then drove Dagoth Ur beneath Red Mountain when he would not yield to their will. 4. Veneration of the Daedra, Saint, and Ancestors. While challenging the divinity of the Tribunal, the dissidents do not challenge the sainthood or the heroism of the Tribunal. In fact, the dissident priests advocate restoring many of the elements of fundamentalist ancestor worship as practiced by the Ashlanders and by Saint Veloth. Exactly how this would work is debated inconclusively within the dissident priests. 5. Denial of the prophecies of the Incarnate and the persecution of the Nerevarines. Though no consensus exists among the dissidents about whether the Nerevarine prophecies are genuine, all agree that the persecution of the Nerevarines is unjust and politically motivated. The dissident priests do not reject mysticism, revelation, or prophecy as part of the religious experience. The dissidents have not resolved the issue of true or false insights. They have studied the mysticism of the Ashlander ancestor cults, in particular the rites and Ashlander seers and wise women, and the prophecies of the Incarnate. Many among the dissident priests have come to believe that the Nerevarine prophecies are genuine, and have made a systematic study of prophecies recorded in the temple archives. 6. Authority of the Archcanon and the Ordinators. The dissident priests reject the authority of the Archcanon and the Ordinators. The temple hierarchy has been corrupted by self-interest and politics, and no longer acts in the best interests of the temple or its worshippers. The dissident priests believe the Archcanon and the Ordinators speak for themselves, not for the Tribunal. 7.